Girl Sincere.
What's up, everybody? This is your man P Solo back in the building again.
So right now we have three topics. Right now that we're talking about, Melania Trump basically said that her and hubby Trump have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein except meeting up at certain parties. Although Uncle Luke did say Trump was at a party before and the women didn't look like women; they looked very young, so he left. But anyway, we have that. African Bambaataa is no longer breathing. He was accused of sexually molesting many boys in the Black and Latin community. And we also have Diddy possibly coming out. He was basically convicted on prostitution in the Mann Act. So he may walk free today or sometime next year. We'll see what happens with his appeal. And then we have some hip hop talk for y'all, of course. Is Dot Era. And there's a lot of people having their huge debates about that on X. So where do you want to begin, Prince?
All right, let's get the stiff news out of the way. Melania Trump.
Okay.
Yeah,
You want to play the clip?
Ironing board out the way.
Or you want to just talk about it before we play the clip?
Yeah.
Okay, so Melania, I'm not even saying like butchering her name right now.
I mean, she butchers English.
I'm feeling her spirit.
Yeah.
But
I'm just being honest with y'all. I mean, because all the other ones, like the previous first lady, the one before then, what was it? Michelle Obama, they were talking about, hey, Michelle don't look like she can read. Barack kind of look like
they were making stuff up.
You know what I'm saying? But
they know both of them know how
Melania
to
mispronouncing every damn word. I mean, and they're like, oh my God, she got so much class.
A lot of white people was being petty.
Okay.
All politicians are corrupt, but they already knew that the Obamas knew how to read. Yeah. They were just hating. But she came out and stated that her and Trump have nothing to do with the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Remember, Pam Bondi was fired as Attorney General, and she was supposed to come forth with the U.S. Department in front of Nancy Mace to be questioned about the Epstein files and Jeffrey Epstein and what she knows. And the loophole now is because she has been fired from Attorney General from that position, she doesn't have to show up. And then after that, we ironically get Mrs. Trump out here talking about how she has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. So they really are trying to sweep the Epstein files completely under the rug. You do have Bill Gates, who is supposed to be questioned as well. But with a lot of the other people who are in the Epstein files, a lot of time ducking and hiding, it does seem as if the cover up or the attempt to cover it up is still being pushed.
Yeah, so look, the thing about it is that when you promote locusts, it could get in your eyes. And let's be real about it. Donald hustling Trump, one of the things that he was able to successfully pimp around that time of the election, the last go round, right? The Illuminati selection process, because you know how the game is rigged. But one of the things that he did promote was the Epstein files, draining the swamp. And now remember, a lot of his hardcore supporters were pretty much societal terrorists. They were social terrorists. So they would go online and they would antagonize people and, talk about the men and the women that want to be men and the men that want to be women, and not really talk about anything substantial. Maybe they would complain a little bit about the economy. But overall, Trump was able to get that particular stand base, because we talk about stands everywhere, but people don't forget, or people do forget, that Trump does have stands. Now, the problem is this. Once I done hustled y'all stupid asses up into the White House, I need y'all to shut up. And Trump has been trying to get them to shut up right now, but they're like, "Well, what about the Epstein files? What about them? What I thought? Well, hold on, Trump. You look, it's kind of suspicious." So now, officially, the First Lady, Melania Trump, has come outside and say, "Guys, my family had nothing to do with the Epstein file. Nothing. I'm no victim."
Melania did say that, and let's play a little clip of this from Adam, who is showcasing this on X right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it.
I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, she told you the images that are calculating on social media
It's AI.
is AI. I met Trump at a casino where Offset got shot at. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this Epstein situation.
Cook her, Prince, because before you go forward,
it's heating up.
When Fannie Willis was fucking on the job,
Yeah, well, you know.
all of hip hop media cooked her, and deservingly so. We cooked her too. I noticed that hip hop is becoming gentrified. A lot of hip hop media, if it's a black woman,
Oh yeah,
they are ready to cook away, talk about baby daddies and all this other crazy stuff, right? Notice how silent hip hop media is with
oh yeah.
the first lady.
But they got into the culture of punching down
And
with everybody else.
even with Christy Nome, husband a cross-dresser, she was having sex on the job, cheating on her cross-dressing husband. And hip-hop media has not cooked Christy Nome. And it's becoming a thing where it's save white girl season, because these women, if you want to call them that, have behaved in such disgusting manner. I mean, Christy Nome was literally celebrating and making excuses for a black man in Los Angeles being killed by an off-duty ICE agent. His name, again, Keith. And Keith Porter. And this just the lackluster energy for bringing up these ghetto gaggers and not even wanting to really talk about them is a very interesting dilemma here that we're seeing in the culture.
Yeah, because the whole time she was talking, I still didn't understand the word of English she was saying. I'm just being honest with you all. Listen, I can't hide it. I don't know. I know it. Not only does it sound like you're making up stuff, but it also sounds like you don't even know what to say.
She didn't know what to say.
She Charlie Webb? I said what?
She had the She had the French couture Hillary Clinton pantsuit on, and still didn't know what to say.
I said, you know what, man? They so racist. This woman talking like she got Fruit Loops in her mouth. But the ETBT spider when Epstein sprouting when she spider out, I know victim of Epstein.
And where's the build the wall people at? Y'all supposed to be building the wall around her, right?
Yeah, well, you know. You know how it is. You know, they want to be Logan in Japan with an Asian woman, a Japanese woman fighting against the male natives. So in this regard here, look, the Epstein thing is just something that Trump ran on, and he's trying to get them to shut up. And they keep crying about the Epstein files, and he's letting them know you ain't getting no answers. Now even they've kind of backed off of Bill Clinton because it's all WWE. You know, I like Bill Clinton, so they're trying to move on forward. But the fact that she has to come forward, and this is really the crux of why her book was presented, her memoir and the documentary and everything, is to also dispel this notion that has been on record for quite some time that she met Donald Trump on Lolita Express. That's what the issue is.
Thousands of photos with
Jeffrey Epstein.
With Jeffrey Epstein.
All made by Nintendo.
With Ghislaine Maxwell. And a lot of people said this was going to happen. We also said this was going to happen. Yes. Even a long time ago when we had created our documentary called The Circle of Power. And in 2015 and 2016, when we broke down the allegations with Trump and Bill Clinton and a lot of the people associated in the Epstein files, we knew when their hands get caught in the cookie jar, they were going to use AI as an excuse. And look, this is not to say that people don't use AI inappropriately. We saw people creating false images of Angel Reese, a fake porn, and it's disgusting, and people should be sued and brought to justice when they do things like that. But at the same time, before AI technology was made public, many of the photos with the First Lady Melania indeed wasn't fake. These are real photos of her and Trump and the Clintons and Bill Gates and anybody you can think of in the seat of power being involved with one of the most notorious pedos in human history, in modern history. And you had Lady Victoria said, if you wasn't in the Epstein files, then you're a bit of a loser.
Oh, that's another ugly woman. Oh, that woman right there, that's another one. That Boulder Rock head.
Well, according to academics, white women really hold it down for their men.
I'm sure that anchor forehead of hers can hold down the Titanic, too. It's crazy. You know what? When you have a lot of money, you can just say whatever you want because that lady was ugly. That lady looked like a creature from Men in Black. If you wasn't there, you just wasn't nobody. All right? I mean, all you need is money. All you need is cash. Lots of cash now. All right. So with that being the case, boys and girls, as you can see here, the fix is in. Now, again, my personal opinion, I'll just state this to you all. I can't trust Americans that have rolled with this. I'm just being honest with you. You read suspect number one. You know, you got these people playing in the public's face. And, you know, there's going to be some people, because there's, even with the whole MAGA stuff that goes on, there's a split demographic. There's a difference in franchise demographic that is online. They're on Twitter every day duking it out with the left, right? As the left dukes it out with the right. But that faction right there is, as they're stating, calling bullshit on Trump. He has a dissatisfied base online, and those are usually the people that are online on social media fighting with the culture wars. Then you have another set. They're not really online. They just watch Fox News all day. They're completely satisfied with Donald Trump. Maybe they feel like we shouldn't start another war, but they're just brown people. Iraq, Iran, change the Q and the N. They don't care, right? So what they're looking to do, though, right now, they're not really looking to have any mass movements to trigger things offline, because, of course, you got, you know, the progressives. Even though a lot of them get on my nerve, they're outside. They're trying to, hey, man, look, I just want my simple gentrified area where I can call the cops on a black man if I see them walking, right? And then you got the left, and then you have the extreme left that they're completely against Trump. They say, look, he's trying to become a king. You know, we don't want any kings. So you have them out there in droves right now, and that dissatisfied base of Trump's followers right now, they're online. That's a huge base that they say, look, buddy, you said you was going to drain the swamp, right? So Melania's job is to come out, and her message is really for the Fox viewers, the people that are, still believe in the Shakespearean play.
Well, the culture war that they created, because culture war is just for division.
Yes.
It's just for people in the music industry, movie industry, and politics and tech, just to pimp y'all. Conservatism does not exist. Everybody who pushed the conversation about being anti-gay, conservative, they all gay. The creative moms for liberty, gay. Christy Nome, husband, cross-dresser. And the list goes
He's over
on
there
and
dressed
on.
like Big Mama.
Yeah, about all these, that's true, about all these fake people. And let's just listen to Lady Victoria for a second.
Yes.
Okay. Are you in the files?
Well, of course. He knew everybody that was very powerful. So, like, if you were on the scene and you were powerful, like, to be honest, like, if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
Right. So the people who aren't in the files are losers.
Yes.
Okay. Are you in the files?
Well, of course I am, because it's any journalist that wrote about it.
Okay, so you see that as disgusting as these people are, and remember, 99.9% of the people in the Epstein files are white, and there is a self-loathing energy in hip-hop culture and hip-hop media that you do not see anybody cooking on these white women who are gloating about pedophilia, and if you're not on the list, you're a loser.
Yeah.
They're not talking about, the pass around known as the current first lady. She has a history of allegedly thotting it up and protecting predators and abusers, and nothing to say, which I find interesting, since we can easily clown black men and women all day but not keep the same energy, just like when people wanted to bully and cry about Chloe Bailey and SZA, whoever showed up at the Ye concert, but all hush when it came to the fact that Anthony Noto is the power and one of the power behind Ye's comeback. Even when we're talking about the SoFi Stadium and how the CEO, the owner, he's also is a big name in the cryptocurrency space as well.
I'm sure he has a record label.
I'm sure he does. But then also walking it back to Trump. Allegedly, there are rumors that Trump may try to pull the U.S. out of NATO, and he may do it so the United States can attack Turkey. Now, I'll make it very clear. For those who've been our day ones on our Patreon, we've been talking about this for a long time now, and we was hoping that it would not be the case. We had an Ethiopian guy, God bless him. What was it, 2-3 years ago?
It was actually, I think it was 2 years ago. It was actually 2 years ago, and he did talk about if you see the United States attack Turkey, then we for sure will be heading into World War III.
And I also want to say thank you to all the people from the United States and also the people abroad who've been giving Thought Crimes great information. That Ethiopian brother who gave us that information that
Shouts out to my people.
Yeah, that you just met just on the street, and he was like, yeah, just to let y'all know, if y'all see Turkey get attacked, World War III is definitely a go, from his opinion. And I don't know why a lot of people are surprised. If you read Project 2025, you understand what's going on. ICE is going to be at every university, at every high school. ICE agents going to be everywhere. The book Warrior Cop was out. You should know never to trust the federal government completely because it's a monkey paw. A lot of people who wanted illegal gangs to be dealt with didn't understand that, again, politicians are not to be trusted. And an ICE agent off duty killed an American citizen. And a lot of the ICE agents, people on the Patreon have talked about, are already going to be assisting the TSA. So you're going to have ICE militias everywhere. And 40% of ICE agents are Hispanic. So there you go with all this monkey paw. We got the possibility of World War III. We have the possibility of not knowing where it's going to go when you have Pete Hegseth in the Senate talking about Men from the ages of 18 to 26 have to register by December.
Well, they're going to be
pertaining to
automatically.
draft.
Yeah, it's going to be automatic. That's what happens. It's going to be updated automatically. I think 3 months into their 18th birthday.
We got Lady Victoria
after.
talking about if you not in the Epstein files, you a loser. And then we have her, Melania, trying to back it up and follow Pam Bondi's way of rewriting history.
Well, apparently she looked like she might have been backing it up in a few places. Now, let's get into Lady Victoria's Stretch Armstrong face. I mean, look at this. You know,
Prez, you and I have been like on this non-biasedly for a long time. Remember, even when a friend / associate of ours had a video of like 2 white female billionaires snorting that powder and calling her black husband the N-word.
Oh yeah. He couldn't do nothing. He couldn't do nothing. I saw that video. I said, "Look at this stupid ass." He in the room with some crazy billionaires, and they're just calling him all types of names that got him there in the first place. But yes, Lady Victoria. She said that basically, if you wasn't in the Epstein files, you were a nobody. Now, listen here. To be fair to Gargoyle Face, she's right. The people that are in the files are of somebody, but not in the sense of that, you know, like they're the cool kids. No, it's that there are a lot of power players in there. A lot of them are very disgusting people, but it does give you an idea of the mindset. Remember now, in most societies, especially in the Western front, the Western hemisphere, typically what you would see is psychopaths, and then secondarily, you'll have sociopaths fly or float to the top of societies, and they become the ruling class. So I'll give you an example. Maybe for some people, they feel comfortable with an op catching an L somewhere. And even in that mindset, even in that demographic, you may have some people that say, well, you know, buddy down, I don't feel like, I don't want it to get back on me, so I ain't going to laugh at their misfortune. They got on my nerve. That is traditionally how a lot of people move. They're either going to like, nah, man, if he catch an L, he catch an L because he kept messing with me. These people don't think like that. Give you an example. With the housing crash that took place in 2008. You saw it bubbling from 05 to 8. There were warnings along the way, like you're witnessing with AI. There were warnings, warning. And then it crashed, right? They had private bankster parties where people of high power, according to Lady Victoria, people that were in those files, because they were somebodies, they were going to their Halloween costume parties as homeless people who had lost their houses.
Yeah, just to say,
that's what they were doing. That's the mindset that they're in. There's a psychopathic mentality. They don't care. They actually enjoy seeing the public get broken.
Yeah, every time you shoot at somebody at the bottom, and I think celebrities should get somewhat cooked, but not all the way. But they should always get somewhat cooked because they are the face. But they're the distraction at the same time. But anytime you ignore the power holders behind the scenes, you are co-signing your own death. You're co-signing the death of somebody you care about who dies at a hospital because you can't afford the right treatment. You cause and sign off to the death of somebody you care about, where real scientists and professors who every day come up with cures with autoimmune diseases and cancers are murdered, allegedly by intelligence agencies or some weird nefarious occurrence. And their technology gets stolen only to be preserved for the 1% while you rot and die. And when you get distracted by cultural warfare by people who claim to represent a particular set, but yet indulging in the same type of behavior of the people they claim they want to have restrictions towards, you are co-signing your death.
Absolutely. In fact, everything you state is correct. Let me tell you something real quick. Because, like, she brought up, and, you guys know, we've talked about the culture war and all of this other stuff. And it's fine. There's things, you have certain rules that, hey, man, you should be writing your rhymes if you're claiming yourself to be the best MC. That's simple. It's very basic. Come on now. Because if that's the case, then we can put Mary Poppins in the top 5. But you got to think about the manipulation of social engineering, because that's really in effect what culture is. It's social engineering. Yes, there are organic roots that float from the underclass and the commoners to the middle class, but overall, how it's curated, that's the social engineering of these companies. Now look at this here. 2011, media releases photos of Bank of America, Wells Fargo foreclosure firms' homeless-themed Halloween bash. The New York Times revealed pictures from a party where the company's employees openly mocked those who had been evicted from their homes. There you go. Look at this right here. If you wasn't dressed like this, you was a nobody.
Exactly.
So this is what we have been talking about these people, that this is how they think in these spaces. This is why you heard Lady Victoria, who's in a different space, even above these people, when we're talking about their hierarchy. This is how she thinks. This is how you usually see folks within power typically mock the underclass or the working class. Remember now, the working class, they're like grapes to be stepped on to try to get the finest wine. And, remember now, you got stories in classes of nobility where, they've, turned certain citizens who have rebelled against them. They've turned them into, that was the whole thing about Nat Turner.
Yeah,
when people,
blood and your energy is to
people was looking at that.
Is to be transferred for their resources.
Yeah, like when people was like, "Oh my God, the files," and you right saying they would say, "Oh my God, the files," and it's kind of like, well, I mean, if you kind of even read the slave journals or the chronicles here in this country, routinely women and men and children were, turned into type, fabric for chairs, or they've used their bones for forms of witchcraft. This is real stuff. It's like, it's not, it's something they've been doing. Yeah.
Before they even saw chocolate faces, they were doing
humans
it
been
in Europe.
doing this for a long time.
Yeah, and to add to this, shout out to CoffeeZilla. The president posting a stake-sponsored photo is wild. Casino takeover of culture is reaching an end game. Where the only question left is how crypto, sports books, and prediction markets will divide the pie. Now, this is important to bring up because allegedly, poor Offset has become an addict to this particular world. They said allegedly he went back to the casino the next couple of days. I don't know how true it is. I hope it isn't true.
You mean they wheeled him in there?
That's another thing affecting, hip hop culture too. Like when we're talking about, the casino takeover. We see casinos being even connected to the iconic, legendary Nas, to Jay-Z, even though his bidding was able to get his in on Times Square, and then also Stake being connected also as a sponsor to Drake as well. So you do see a lot of this stuff. A lot of this just in being injected everywhere, just like what you saw with even someone like I believe his name was Casey Wasserman, who is over the Olympics, still hasn't been removed, and he was in the Epstein files trying to get little nude photos of Ghislaine Maxwell, which people said, well, that's not a big deal. He was trying to have sex with an adult woman. He was on the Lolita Express. For years, at a very young age, as a young man, he was around Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And then eventually he had to sell the music division that I don't know if anyone bought it yet, where you had artists like SZA, Tyler the Creator, Kendrick Lamar, pop star, rock stars, Roni, whatever, like just a lot of different type of acts where he's selling the music division. And he was also over, had a lot of powerful a position even in the sports world when we're talking about the WNBA, the NBA, football, and all of that. So as you said, like the blue bloods, the people that are in the Epstein files, they hold a lot of key positions in politics. They hold a lot of key positions in the sports world, in entertainment, everywhere. They're like literally everywhere, and it's a reckoning to see if people will stop aiming below the belt and start focusing on these heads that are in the shadows, and some of them not all the way in the shadows, that are literally controlling how our everyday environment works, and stop being cowards in media and only going for easy targets. You know, as you stated before, Prince, as we stated here on Thought Crimes, our platform, people spend every day going after easy targets, being afraid of bringing up execs' names pertaining to UMG or Warner Brothers or Sony, being afraid to talk about the people who sustain a lot of the negativity that permeates in the culture. You know, so we'll see what happens. Like, even when you and I talking about Christy Nome and her trying to duck the fact that her husband is a cross-dresser and that she was cheating on her husband as well at the job. At her workplace. Again, hip-hop media was able to talk about Fannie Willis as they should, but no talks about Christy Nome in her thotty ways.
Yeah, you know, and even what you're talking about here, listen, you know, it's just a game. That's all it is. You know, and they are trying their best to duct tape things as minimal as possible, too, because one of the reasons why they're not really all that scary, they kind of just want people online to shut up, but it's kind of like we got a surprise for people during the midterms. You know, and you're seeing, you know, people are concerned about conscription versus, you know, registration, and you're having these issues as well. But yes, the culture wars are going to always be very important. In fact, I think they're more important than ever right now, you know, with all types of baby algorithms moving around. And even, you know, when you bring up casinos, you know, now there are some studies that show, at the very least, you know, does a community necessarily become poorer? There are some studies that it seems inconclusive with that, but a lot of studies have shown that, you know, crime has, you know, sprung up in certain neighborhoods, and then you got, you know, trafficking, prostitution, drugs, and then of course the idea of addicts and addiction. You know, that's what they've alleged with Offset. And every time, you know, I see Offset now, he's just in the casino. I say, I guess no more albums, right? But one of the things that's a telltale sign is that these people are looking to lean in on people's misery. So, you know, realistically, you know, people in the neighborhood, they're talking about what's going on with their schools, even in certain neighborhoods like, you know, where they at with Nas and Jay-Z, or what they was vying for at that time. Even where Nas is concerned in Queens, a lot of citizens in Queens have been talking about raising test scores, you know, children needing basic needs and things of that nature. We don't need another casino, that type of stuff. And, you know, you'll see
casinos do help children do math. Teach them mathematics, a lot of important skills.
Astronomy,
yeah,
astrology, the sun, the earth, and the stars, right? But yeah, you know, listen, look, what they're going to lean into is, you know, people looking to medicate themselves.
Speaking of medicate themselves,
people looking to medicate themselves in that regard.
Hunter Biden just came out and said he wants a cage match with Donald Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr. Credit to Instagram and Channel 5. And let me just play it a little bit, because this shows you our point about the WWE nature. This is a joke, like a reality.
It's idiocracy.
It is. It's everything.
It's idiocracy
that William Cooper and so many other people have talked about. But I'm just going to play this real quick.
Match.
A cage fucking match.
A crack match.
Probably at the White House.
Hunter Biden here. I just got a call from Andrew Callahan. He asked me to come out on the Channel 5 Carnival Tour at the end of the month. I think we start in Phoenix, and then we go to San Diego, and we end in Albuquerque. And I think he's trying to organize a cage match, me versus Eric and Don Jr. I told him I'd do it, 100% in, if he can pull it off. And if he can't, I'm still coming. And I think he's got a lot of other surprises up his sleeve. A lot of fun, and I hope I can see you guys out there. You can get tickets online right now, and I'll see you out on tour.
Okay, so
This
let's
is
pause
America.
this. Let's pause on that, Sam.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, people are going through real life issues.
It'll be a lot of fun.
So this to tell you about like
spoiled adult.
this is tell you saying this tells you about the Gilded Age. Okay, people are suffering. He's saying, you know what, this will be fun. So listen, folks. At the end of the day, that means it's all on friendly terms.
WWE, if you going to fight somebody in a cage match to make money,
That means it's
I mean-
scripted.
exactly.
It's scripted. Fake. All right, fake. Okay, this is America. Guns in my area. All right. Again, you guys may not agree with me, but This Is America is the greatest video of all times. It is hands down the most prolific video of all time because that's what we're living in. I'm glad you found that one, Sin. I'm glad you found that one. That is incredible. That should tell you how non-serious this is for them. Folks, the fix is in. These people have already agreed with each other. You know, like, again, I use the example, the story of Jesse Ventura. Again, a former legendary wrestler, was in one of the greatest sci-fi films with one of the greatest racist superheroes of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But Jesse Ventura retired from wrestling, and he always wanted to get into politics because as governor of Minnesota, you know, he wanted to kind of make things right for, quote unquote, as he says, his people in Minnesota. So he said, saying when he got into politics, he was being very serious. He wanted to confront some guys after they debated him. Like, what did you just say, right? Somebody tapped him on the shoulder. They said, hey, man, buddy. You know how they get you as a new person on the job? Like, yo, slow down. You working too fast. You working too hard. We got 7 hours left on the clock, right? They hit him on his shoulder. They said, hey, man, yo, Gov, man, yo, chill out, bro. Calm down. It's not that serious. He says, what are you talking about? This is for my community. He says, no, like, and then he gave an interview. He says, you come to find out that these guys are friends. Their daughters are married to each other's sons. And he said, it's like a big family, but they get in front of the camera and they put on this wrestling match. And he said, hell, I might as well have not retired from wrestling.
Well, talking about wrestling, the former mouthpieces of Donald J. Trump, who I personally believe that Tucker Carlson has always been a very smart guy.
Yes.
He purposely supported Trump, so then later he wouldn't. And some people may be confused why, so they could gain a big audience. You got to remember, American culture is very forgiving to scammers. People who lead them astray, get big audience, get big money, and then are now the heroes. But anyway, let's talk about Donald J. Trump crying right now about Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, and other people using Donald Trump as a lick. I know I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon. Because they have one thing in common: low IQs. So he's going on his crybaby rant. They are stupid people. They know it. Their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. This sounds like a Stallone speech. Like, you know, when
You got to get out there. You got to keep going. Keep going.
You know, and we have the rest of the post on Patreon for y'all to check it out, where he just calling them losers and different things like that. I just think that Donald Trump don't understand. You got played. Candace Owens, for example, was always going to play the people who she knows are sharks. She's a shark herself. She double-crossed the NAACP. White men and women thought they were special. She went with PragerU, dusted them, went and got the resources from the Daily Wire, got rid of Ben Shapiro and Jeremy, who are now crying about her, even though they sacrificed a white woman in favor of Candace Owens. They basically took part in smearing somebody. and now they're facing the karma of that. But anyway, Candace Owens is a big deal now. She's a big name now, major in the podcast scene and in social media. Megyn Kelly recently had turned coat, and Tucker Carlson was going to compete with Trump. And Trump is a little bit of a not a little bit, he's a lot of a dumbass, because I personally believe at the very beginning Tucker Carlson already said he didn't like Trump. Then he kind of pivoted a little bit, but kept giving Trump weird warnings, like talking about the possibility of Trump being assassinated. So Tucker Carlson never fucked with Trump from the beginning. He made it known clear as day he was using Trump for a lick. And they already know that the American people they're not in favor of where the Trump administration is taking everything. And even Margaret and others have made it very known that they just feel that Marjorie, which she also feels like, look, I'm not going where President Trump is going. I don't want nobody in my hometown trying to kill me because of the decisions that the United States government is doing abroad and domestically. So y'all could check the post where he's like ranting, calling everybody low IQ and criticizing them, and just going again on his rant on Truth Media.
Look, before we get to this particular subject, and I like what you said this in, look, I do want to talk about the cage match, Sid, because you and I, we talked about this, and we talked about that. Candace Owens was always going to double cross them. I tell you what, she put that big ass cup on her desk and that laptop, and she talked about a few black people, and they says, we're in. We got her. She's good with us. But what are we dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen? Somebody got to get a hold of Mike Judge, all right? Because Idiocracy in 2006, and we're in 2026, Doogada is on point, right? You guys remember the president from Idiocracy, played by Terry Crews. I actually think it's one of his greatest roles, hands down, my personal opinion. And he played the president, Camacho, right? Camacho for 2020, right? And I believe, I think at some point he had to step down or whatever the case, because the entire nation had a low IQ, right? Well, there he is right there, Camacho, right? And again, this was in 2006. This is before all this other stuff that we got going on with Dana Wright and the Octagon. Well, it says here, going back to what we brought up with Joe Biden's son, if you ain't black, he about to get into the cage match. UFC brings cage match bout to the White House, home of a president who favors cage match politics. Now, folks, you're getting ready to see the political surge of reality TV. People will tune in because one thing Trump has a talent for more than anything else, if he don't have any other talent, is getting attention.
This is why a lot of people in media who voted for Trump, like Andrew Schultz or Candace Owens and the rest of them, they knew this would be a great double dip. Trump literally promotes their platforms.
Yes.
Being associated with Trump, taking pictures with Trumps, and then being able to diss him. It's called being a parasite, but in this case, one would say it would be a good scam because Trump isn't a good person. Not to say that these people haven't had their own accusations and of harming innocent people who they thought were their competitors, but using Trump as a lick, like, nobody's going to be mad at that.
Well, and here's the thing about it. It's nothing personal because Trump is using people as licks.
He does it all the
time.
time.
So, it's like, honestly, if you're using Donald Trump, you really don't have to have like a guilty conscience behind it. That's why you see so many people trying to get close to him, right? So to Sin's point, The ones that make it are the ones that they don't have no emotional ties to it, which is why Candace Owens is running circles around Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's been crying. He's happy that America's finally got into a war with Iran. But if you look at his YouTube channel, he's losing like 20,000 subscribers a month.
Because Ben Shapiro is a bad handler. He's a privileged guy who has been able just to move forward just because of the community he's a part of. But he's a coward. He takes no accountability for his disgusting actions. And one thing Candace Owens did say, a lot of the anti-black stuff she was saying on Daily Wire was encouraged by Ben Shapiro, but he doesn't want his Jewish community talked about. We saw that even with Harvey Levin when they had Dan on there, and he wanted Dan to say the N-word because he was in oppression Olympics with black people, is what Harvey Levin was trying to do to defend Randy Fine. And Randy Fine has said disgusting things about Muslim people. I notice all the people who be talking about protect one community are some of the most anti-humanist, anti-human people you could think of, just like Randy Fine.
Yeah, that's it. So now that, there seems to be a growing global war, right? China said, we're going to keep that thing up on top of the dashboard now. All right. You have in other countries that are on standby. You got situations still going on, conflicts right now with Russia and the Ukraine. And you got some other stuff taking place too. And then, you got Mexico and Canada. There's kind of like this WWE thing going on, but, they're supposed to be doing the North American Union. So we got to put up a show like we don't like each other. Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, they're going to be delving deeper into AI slop. They're going to be delving deeper into entertainment slop, and it's going to feed the masses because they have nothing else to look at right now. You saw recently with Oracle laying off 30,000 employees, right? So that's people that are working in corporate America. These are, people that are just trying to feed their family. You're seeing Disney talking about they're laying off employees. There's layoffs happening everywhere. And as these layoffs are happening everywhere, they're kind of terraforming America into Idiocracy meets Wall-E. And that's what's happening right now. So that's why you're seeing them we're going to have a cage match either inside the White House or on the front yard, okay? And they're going to continue this moving on forward. I mean, even if we're on Twitter, it's pretty much Idiocracy, right? It's just some of the crazy stuff. And then people that thought there was an agenda going one way are finding out it's just clout, because you saw with Erica Kirk, she was complaining and crying oh my God, Drewski, this fat black man, he's dressing as me, they're making fun of me. And then Elon Musk, what did he say? The numbers are great.
Yeah, I got to shout out to Drewski. One of the few people in hip hop culture that's saying I don't care about Erica Kirk.
No.
A lot of people thought he wouldn't do a skit like this because of his association with Drake, but not everybody thinks the same way. And I really enjoy comedy that is really fearless, not people who just be aiming low. But Drewski's skit on Erica Kirk was so hilarious and accurate on a lot of the white females in the Republican Party. And also transitioning to Diddy.
Yeah, I was about to say, did we cover Diddy?
Diddy allegedly is supposed to be walking free or getting some time shaved off. We'll see with the appeal. But a lot of people who are mad about, the RICO not sticking, they have to understand, look, Diddy has a good case to get out because he's only gotten on prostitution, not domestic violence. And then also in Lil Rod's original lawsuit that included Lucian Grange, the RICO would have meant that UMG books would have been looked into, because Lil Rod was alleging that Lucian Grange and UMG were supplying women and underage women to Diddy, even though eventually that part of his lawsuit was removed. So getting a RICO on Diddy would mean other people would get caught up. And we'll see what happens, even if Diddy's going to get out. But, what's your assessment?
Well, I'm going to make that. I'll just put this here so I inform the people, and there's a great point because I want to get into what you're stating here. But it says here, appeals court judges raise questions about severity of Sean Diddy Combs' 4-year prison sentence. Let's get into this a little bit here. All right, here. So again, this is the Associated Press. All right, the link will be below for you guys to check it out. Oh my God, Diddy's on the screen. I'm stuttering. All right, let's get into it. Federal appeals court judges questioned during oral argument Thursday whether a roughly 4-year prison term given to Sean Diddy Combs for the hip-hop mogul's conviction on prostitution-related charges was too harsh. So the judge is saying this. Were we a little too harsh on Diddy? We told you guys, one of the last godfathers out of New York, the black ones. Okay? So the 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan did not immediately rule after hearing 2 hours of argument. All right, it says here, at the conclusion, Circuit Judge William J. Nardini called it an exceptionally difficult case. This is very difficult. I'm going on break, right? It says here, that raises questions of first impressions, not only for this court, but for any federal court in this country. So now they're saying here, Diddy may be a landmark case. So it says here, throughout the arguments, judges questioned whether a judge improperly considered elements of acquitted charges to sentence Combs to what his lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, said was the most prison time ever given someone convicted of the same charges with a similar criminal history. All right, it says here, just to get into this part, Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slavic, arguing for the government, challenged Shapiro's claim, saying that the 4-year, 2-month prison term given to Combs was below what federal sentencing guidelines called for and was in line with similar convictions. So the person here, Christie, is arguing on the behalf of the government, says, what are you talking about? Actually, we didn't give him enough time. But the judge is saying, were we too harsh on him with his lighter sentencing?
Well, also, I would like to play some audio for y'all from certain outlets as well that is discussing the whole Diddy fiasco. And let's see who we're going to start with, because it's something.
What did you think about that, though, Sin?
Well, I mean, they're talking about the legalities of it. They're accurate.
Yeah, what did it say?
Because people didn't get him on things that have been rumored for decades about his disturbing behavior with sex trafficking and men and women and children. They got him simply only on prostitution, where a lot of the people who testified, it was like, oh, they were willing participants. You and I, though, know a lot of the rumors and conversations around Diddy that are not good and are pretty damn gruesome. Even the original lawsuit with Lil Rod, but evidence need to be showcased, and a lot of people have to be brave. I think also a lot of people in Hollywood, they dropped the ball. Kid Cudi was the only brave one to talk about his car getting blown up, even though Young Thug and Malone didn't want him to talk about it or to take the stand. But I personally think, sorry to the victims. Just a lot of people in Hollywood, they let you down because they are about themselves first. And the first thing they're going to do is figure out how to make money and how to move forward with Diddy. And that's just how a lot of people rock and roll. But I'm also going to show y'all Lauren Colleen. And here she goes talking about Sean Diddy Combs' appeal argument. And this was 5 hours ago.
Surprise. Mark Dagnifalo, Nicole Westmoreland, Xavier Donaldson, Anna Esteveo, everybody was here. And the government, of course, was here. Madison Smizer, Christy Slavic, who did the arguments, and also Alexandra Shapiro did the arguments on Diddy's side. And some of Diddy's family was here. His sister and her husband, and then I think one of his mother's friends were here.
Also, isn't Shapiro, is that the same one for Jay-Z?
Let me check real quick. I think so. Let me look this up real quick.
Yeah, Alexandra Shapiro.
I was actually about to say.
I could be wrong, but we'll double check. But I'm gonna play a little bit more.
No. That's a different Shapiro. It looks like. Hold on. For
profiling.
Diddy. Let me see. So hold on. Wait. I may be wrong. Diddy lawyer for Diddy. Let's see. Let me double check. Yeah, actually, Alexandra Shapiro is a woman. Thought crimes, y'all are racist.
No,
you heard Shapiro.
You see, we checked right on the lives to make sure.
We didn't keep going like Ben Shapiro.
All right, let's listen more to Lauren's coverage. She's actually outside reporting on everything.
So we tried to talk to the lawyers after. They didn't really say much. I will post a video of that later where Mark just kind of said, Agnifilo said, great arguments, and that was that. But so both sides are supposed to get, 10 minutes. Alexandra Shapiro gets up there. She says she is going to go for 8 minutes and reserve 2 for rebuttal. But each side ended up getting a lot more time because there's just a lot to go over. And the judge actually said, this is a very complicated case. This is very complex. And he obviously, or they did not rule from the bench. They are, reserving that. And Alexandra Shapiro at the end kind of said, we really hope that, we can get a decision sooner than later. And I'm paraphrasing here. But, she got up there and just started off by really saying that, we want to cite our support of the jury and what a jury decides. And we want to respect the law and what the law is. And then the judge kind of interrupts, and this is Nardini, interrupts and says, are you going to go into like violations of the Sixth Amendment? And she's like, I not now, I wasn't going to, but I can sort of, I can sort of pivot there. And then they bring up a case that they're citing and everything. And it's Vaughn and Johnson, which is in her 100-page brief. But basically, the judge wanted to go into the fact that, and he read from Judge Subramanian's the transcript when he was going through the sentencing, saying, he did consider some overlapping conduct, and that should be allowed, overlapping conduct. So there's a difference here between acquitted conduct and overlapping conduct.
So if you want more on the coverage of Lauren, y'all can go check her out on X. Also, she is running a brand called LA Magazine. Also, let me.
This is Laura Conlon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Laura Conlon, and let me see. Yes, LA Mag is also one of the platforms that she is a part of as well. So y'all can check her out there as well. But yeah, she's been doing a lot of coverage on Diddy and other high-profile people and personalities as well.
Oh, they got old boy on there from what is it, Crime and Law?
Yeah.
I can recognize him by that rooster haircut.
He do have a rooster hair.
Looks like him and Vivek go to the same barber.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. It caught my eye as well. So shout out to Lauren as well.
Well, you know what, Sid? You and I mean, we can just briefly talk about our personal thoughts about, what we just read, what I just read, what you just showed as well, concerning Diddy. And again, has enough resources to keep putting up a fight. That is a very determined person, because he got to get back out in these streets.
You don't have that many super high profile personalities anymore. You got Will Smith, you got Diddy, and then when I say personalities, even people invested in their personal lives, you got Drake, Diddy, Will Smith,
Nicki Minaj. Did you say Kanye? You didn't say Kanye.
Kanye. Of course I say Ye.
Yeah, this is a big
Formerly
one.
known as Kanye West, Ye.
Jay-Z's trying to retract from the public.
Yeah, Jay-Z.
He's trying to get out the public's eye.
Jay-Z. Not too much
of that culture left.
not too much of a father right now with Beyonce, but she's still a big name too. I mean, like in her personal life.
Right.
But actually, Jay-Z is her personal life. So yeah.
Yeah, he's outside.
So Beyonce. Who else? Personal life is under a big scope.
What do you think about Taylor Swift though? Because it seems like they invest because she's in that Blake Lively stuff, and they got her. Anytime they observing your text messages like this, I like you up in there.
They've been using Taylor. Yeah, no, that's right. With the Blake Lively, WME fiasco as well with Baldoni, and then you also have the situation with UMG with Bill Ackman trying to take over UMG and usurp Lucian Grange.
Look, if you've been on our Patreon, we covered certain things about the backers of UMG in 2024 and then at beginning of 2025. After that, Sin and I said, we're out. But we were looking what was going on in the background, in the back scenes of UMG with the original owners and the board of directors, which is currently playing out as some of the things we talked about early 2025 . But yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Billboard is really heavily covering the whole UMG situation. Some other platforms like Financial Times as well. You also have Bloomberg. Interestingly enough, Bloomberg was actually on the possibility of certain things with Bill Ackman even in 2024.
Yeah, Bill Ackman, he's been around for a moment. Remember, he was also heavily invested in the early fruitions of like what would be media online that was driven towards younger Gen Xers and millennials, from the first phase of millennialhood to the mid-tier millennialhood as well.
You also have the Inkler. Shout out to y'all. Right now, they have music catalogs are worth big money, but somehow music companies aren't. Maybe that's why Bill Ackman is making a $64 billion bid for Universal Music Group. The UMG roster includes the Rolling Stones, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, so on and so forth. But you know what's interesting about it? A lot of people felt that Bill Ackman was lowballing, but Bill Ackman saying the value of the company is not as big as what people think it is. This is an appropriate price, and I feel I can upscale it because the catalogs are worth a lot, but how these record labels have been managing the catalogs have not been in a way where profits can really be seen to the level which it should be, is what it seems like Bill Ackman is claiming.
Remember, again, saying you were right, and again, shouts out to the Ankler, but we talked about what would be the robustness of production, concerning what goes on with UMG. And again, because, we've been so used to, big conglomerates, there was one point in time that somebody was like, Kmart's invincible. Kmart's a big company.
Who the hell thought Kmart was invincible?
It was a lot of little home shopping network housewives back then that would think that. And you saw them
Rosie O'Donnell push for Kmart.
Yeah. Come on, see, at one point in time in America, what did they teach you? You want to work for the big companies. You want to move up in the ranking. So, as you guys can see, music catalogs are worth, like, this is what Sin was reading actually here. So I'm going to put this on the screen so y'all can get a chance to check it out.
Again, you putting the Inkler article up. Good.
So let's go ahead and, just take a look at this briefly because, this is a thing that, Sin and I, we did cover extensively. And we said there was some things going on with UMG. And if you guys have been there, again, you can just go back to our catalog on our Patreon and you'll see our live streams where we extensively covered what was going on with UMG at the end of 2024 and at the beginning of 2025, and there were things you should watch out because
this is
of
a predator smelling blood in the water.
Of course. Hey, there's multiple lawsuits. There hasn't been a lot of generative success. All right, so listen to this. The music business has a problem. Bill Ackman just pounced. Listen to what they said here. All right, it says here, Stop the Music, Bill Ackman on the left, and of course, Lucian Grange on the right. All right, let me just read this first part of it, and I'm going to let you guys have the link in our comment section. It'll probably be in our description bar as well, but you guys get a chance to check it out, and great finds. And the good news...
but can you read before that where it says...
Go ahead, love.
I'll just say real quick before you go into the main part of it. Look how they phrase this here, Prince. How digital parasites are destroying the culture business and how the culture business can fight back. That's an interesting way to phrase it.
Wait a minute. Let me go back. Let me see if I can put that on the screen.
Yeah, that's right there on the article, just at the very top of it, right underneath the photo, where it talks about Glenn and the peoples of the former.
Oh, I got you right here. Okay, well, yeah, that's it. Okay, let's see this here. Glenn Peoples is the former lead analyst at Billboard. Robert Levine is the former deputy editor of Billboard. I've seen his name a couple times. And author of Free Ride, How Digital Parasites Are Destroying the Culture Business and How the Culture Business Can Fight Back. So that was his book. Well, it's something we told you guys of information that was being archived, during the Great Battle of 2024. But, people, they set their eyebrows on fire and run down the street, screaming, pick a side. And, again, Bill Ackman has said, I just want to buy everything off the table. All right. It says here the good news for Universal Music Group is that the Pershing Square Capital Management CEO Bill Ackman just bid to buy the company in a transaction, the fund valued at $64 billion, a 77% premium over Monday's closing price. The catch is that Ackman plan involves a bit of financial engineering, moving the company's public listing from Euronext Amsterdam Stock Exchange to a U.S. exchange and allocating capital differently. Even Pershing Square's valuation of the offer reflects its forecast for the value of the company after it's listed in the U.S.
Now, what's interesting is this can go either way. Lucian may stay. UMG may back Lucian Grange all the way as the continued face of the conglomerate. Or you may see some form of a takeover by Bill Ackman. We will see, but continue on, Prince.
Well, I'm going to jump to this other part. No, this is a great point because also you guys got to understand when you see somebody announce a price in the market like this, it's going to trigger an effect. What does this do? This changes the perception of UMG versus where people perceived it in 2024. Again, if you was on our Patreon, we talked to you all about what was going on in the background. That can always change. And not only that, we talk about valuation. So that also means companies lie. They just lie. Hey, we're worth a lot more, right? When in reality, if somebody's looking to buy, they'll say, hey, this is the appraisal price here. But listen to this here. Oddly, even though prices, this is what Sin talked about, for recording and publishing catalogs remain high, the value of the companies that control most of them have plummeted, which implies that they could be undervalued. So remember, this talk about culture. Remember, like they kept talking about it everywhere. It's everywhere you heard people that never talked about rap music was the culture. Okay, realistically, these labels, as we talked about it, with these tech firms that are taking over record labels, you got to keep in mind, a lot of people out of tech, a lot of firms out of tech are taking over record labels through black equity firms, private equity firms, right?
To black platforms. We have an associate who 8 years ago told us about this.
Yes.
Where they talked about execs and the big money people losing interest in music and in particular hip hop. Because look what you just read. But Ackman's offer reflects an ugly reality. Investors are falling out of love with music companies. And this
you know how
we had a conversation.
Yeah, we talked about this.
A long time ago.
No, we talked about this, and again, you can visit it because I don't feel like going back through everything. But what she's saying is absolutely correct. Here's the thing about it. What they're saying is that your middlemen we're not interested in. if we can just get the music and we can move on.
And also
all right?
approach like the things we've been saying about these white execs that people in the hip hop spaces and other musical spaces too be nut hugging. They literally was suppressing the true value of people's musical catalogs, and also not even knowing how to utilize the musical catalogs because the music itself was not created in the music industry. This is something going back to the whole mafia and street and gang culture where we talked about black music was not created origin-wise by the music industry. It was exploited by the music industry. The music industry was created by Jewish gangsters, Italian gangsters, different types of groups across the board. Whereas the music itself was created by indigenous black people of the Americas. You've had also the black people from the Atlantic slave trade. Even when we're talking about even certain instruments that even come from the continent of Africa, or certain instruments that even come from the indigenous peoples of the Americas, even when we're talking about the banjo. So I just wanted to make that clear, because if they understood these cultures that predate the music industry, we're talking about in 2026, there wouldn't be an issue of the disconnect where the music catalogs are still supremely popular, but no one knows how to really make money off of it outside of trying to
buy people's catalogs.
Do AI versions.
Well, here's the thing about it. What they're saying here, what do we need the record companies for?
Which is why Ye's over there
Right.
with Gamma, with Larry Jackson, because they're
new-
pulling out to try to do their own thing.
The new wave will be tech. If you guys were with us, we read an article concerning Lucian Grange, and his stewardship was supposed to be what? The transitioning of the old ways into us jumping into tech. Some of the people said, why do we need to waste time with your old elephant butts trying to learn how to use new shit?
We'll add to the article,
Right?
Prince, Universal Music Group was down 23.1% year to date through Monday. Warner Music Group was down 14.6%. Spotify was off 16.5%. And South Korea's K-pop companies were down anywhere from 17.2%. You also had JYP Entertainment to 37.2%. SM Entertainment as well. And major stock indexes have fallen in recent months due to the U.S. and Israel's war with Iran, and resulting in the rise, of course, of oil prices. But none are down this much. So they're basically saying that. I would also say, I want to add to a lot of the cultural pushback too is like, even like, Warner Brothers Music trying to sit Dua Lipa down because she's pro Palestinian people and pro the people of Gaza. People trying to pigeonhole hip hop and trying to force who we want to listen to instead of letting us the culture by the seed of it, the foundation of it, to be allowed to choose who the winners are. And not surprised by these numbers, because a lot of people are tired of it. And even when people talk about South Korea K-pop, they talk about it incorrectly. They say, oh, it's just simply, South Koreans trying to steal black culture. It's way deeper than that. Those people didn't start that on their own. What you had is American execs, like even Scooter Braun,
Go in there.
they went to South Korea to try to have the South Koreans do their own form of blackface. And it's been failing because nobody wants to see it because it's inauthentic. It's not like when you used to see with the boom bap era. You see in France, you see also the global breakdancing culture. You see it in Japan. These are what you call natural occurrences, where you see people around the world just loving hip hop, the origin of hip hop, based off of Black American culture, right? When you have with the K-pop situation, it's not that there aren't people in South Korea that really just love Black American music. It's the fact that you have American and also some Israeli execs. They are going to South Korea, exploiting these South Korean children and grooming them from the very young ages to adults, and then also trying to have them mimic Black American music from the 90s and early 2000s.
Well, they really just remix, a lot of Black American music, and they also remixing the remix, which was Backstreet Boys and O-Town and all that crap, right? And also, here's the other side of it too. Listen to this, which raises a bigger question. If the underlying assets are so valuable, why are the companies that own them getting punished? Well, the internet, social media, things are moving fast. They're moving very fast. In a lot of these old infrastructures, they have systems. They have ways of doing things, approval process. And that's just not where the culture is right now. It's moving much faster. But also, this is an undoing on their own because they had been so greedy with bulk stocking a lot of this music across different streaming platforms and locking certain companies into exclusive deals and even certain artists into exclusive deals, to now in another way they've created a direct to consumer situation that kind of X's them out in the process because they're not producing anything else outside of housing these artists. And some of these artists have been vocal about what they have not been liking about the music industry, and there's still a controlling process. But also there's a bicameral state here in entertainment. People are also not taking into consideration when you bring up issues, what's going on in music. Look what has been happening in Hollywood. So if Hollywood is booming, music is booming.
What do you think about the danger?
So usually you have that type of ecosphere for artistry, especially in the industry space. You'll usually see them thriving at that time, and it's really a blowback from also what's been taking place in Hollywood.
We have a dangerous situation right now. A couple years ago, we, through astrology, talked about how through Vedic astrology and Western astrology, talked about how the independent scene was going to have a boom. But we've seen people hijack it right now. Even in black faces, they're bringing the white execs that are failing. They're trying to bring them into the independent scene right now when it's more important for us to thrive in our own power. So and we see it being utilized on steroids through the hip hop scene. People who are a part of UMG, Warner Brothers, Sony, having businesses with them, being in the independent scene, pretending to be independent. How much of a threat do you think that is to the independent scene thriving right now when you have these entities trying to hijack basically the independent scene?
I think, those people that are not going to see that they have their freedom, I think it's going to be a very, 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 very big, dangerous jungle for them.
I see them also trying to become authority figures to tell independent media what to say and what not to say.
True. But culture can be very rebellious. And sometimes niggas are just lame. Now it is dangerous when they get somebody that's actually charismatic and they are actually able to move things around. Whether people like them or love them, there's a charisma, there's a charm, even a charm in hating them, whether if the person is actually talented or gifted. But to the point, though, of what you're asking here, I think you're going to have a lot of corny undercover industry cops that are going to pretend that, I'm about hip hop or, let's get into some real soul R&B music, and they remove stiff. It seems like it's manufactured. Give you an example. Look at all of the hip hop industry podcasters that are still on board with a lot of these big wigs, right? Look how all of them were about to promote Tommy Richmond. Now you can see who's real and who's fake, right? Because the real people, brother, this is trash. 100% garbage. But you saw when the song was getting its play, this knockoff Gold Link shit, right? You saw so many industry folks that were pretending to be independent saying, I like the song actually. It's really hitting. It's knocking. So of course they're going to have to try to make that adaptation, but I do think people could fall into a situation where, Sid and I will use this example of Spoken Reason. It's the brother Hot Fire. He talked about how Chris Rock had reached out to him only to say he wanted to produce his show.
You said Florida Boy in our chat said there was an industry person who took his presidential show and copied off of it. And then also to add to the point of what we're saying here, where you, even with the stan culture, they blaming they blaming fans, but it's actually some of these stans are industry people who are having flagships and trying to tell independent media what to do. So if you criticize Drake, there'll be a group of them trying to mass flag you or cry because of your coverage of Drake. Or if you criticize Kendrick, it'd be a mass group of them criticizing you if you have something to say about Kendrick or Cole, whoever. And some of these people, a lot of them be connected directly to the industry, while also in the shadows having a door for a lot of these white execs to come in, even though they're crumbling right now. They're having a hard time right now.
People are trying to see, as they're crumbling, can I get a bank deposit? Can I get a deposit in my Cash App? Can I get a deposit in my PayPal? So this is why you're kind of seeing critters move around promoting that. I'm going to use what I was saying, though, is you have a situation like Red Hot Fire Spitter, whatever the brother's name was. I remember him. Y'all know he was doing the rap shit, right? He was one of the earlier pioneers as far as celebrity or stardom off the internet. And what happened is that Chris Rock came and said, hey, I want to produce a show for you. But Chris Rock, behind the scenes to his face, was telling him in so many words he couldn't stand him. Because he envied that he was able to get this clout off the internet and he didn't have to go through the things that Chris Rock went through. But what happened, though, in the process, it killed his momentum. Now, what Sin is talking about is, yes, you do have people that are trying to control the narrative. The other side is this: look, folks are already they're tired of the whole Big Three stan wars. Like, I mean,
and the Rock Nation one too.
It's all the whole story, because after a while, look at something else far more charismatic to the general public: the MCU. The MCU is in Phase 15. And they said, surprise, Doom it's Tony Stark's. And you saw how people and you're seeing the numbers with these films falling off, not because people hate the genre of superhero flicks or Cape Crusader flicks in itself, but it's the corporate approach to it that's redundant. And what happens, to your point, Sam, yes, the danger is there's going to be a space where for a moment these corporations can dupe people for a couple rounds. But then when the redundancy sets in, because they feel like we got a formula that works here, redundancy sets in, and then the people catch on. So even with the Big Three conversation, I personally am seeing a lot of people fatigued of the conversation.
The Bermuda Triangle, and also to add to it, academics try to say the fun in hip hop is being dried up because of Kendrick and the era and all that. That's not the truth. What's drying up is because people don't want to call it for what it is. It's the bots, and it's also industry podcasters and platforms that have been involved in doxing, including some of the crazy stands that have been sometimes associated with these different platforms. But also these boring mass campaigns that are stripping the nuances out of hip-hop discussion. When you're talking about any of the Big Three and even beyond that, if you say something too positive about Jay-Z, then you have the Nicki bots, and you have platforms that are connected directly to Nicki Minaj are going to cry. If you criticize Jay-Z too harshly, then sometimes you get the whole Rock Nation platforms and stuff. The people click up and they want to cry about your fucking video. Not critique, fucking cry. And same thing goes about with Drake, Kendrick, Cole. Say something too favorable about them, too anti them, then you see it. These people are trying to create restrictions in communication in hip hop, not free flowing. They're trying to prevent the whole free flow of commerce with the independent scene, and I do think a lot of people need to pay attention to that.
Well, yes, that is true. And look, I mean, that's why there's this very aggravating stand war, which, again, a lot of companies, record labels, and tech firms bought bots. Now, are there idiot stands out there with real problems in their life they're ignoring? Yes, there's a lot of them. But also companies, particularly traditional industry record label heads, along with the tech firms that are quietly buying people out through black equity firms or private equity firms as well, they don't know what exactly is working. But what they can do is try to train their models based on actual human traffic. And this is where all of the bot farming comes in at online and Twitter and it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's buffering the numbers up on YouTube where somebody can have 500,000 views and they got 11 comments. These companies, they're trying to figure out what works. It's literally the T1000.
The bots are making them lose money, yeah.
Yeah, you go online, you post something, it's a swarm of bots up under there. So if you guys can't get it that these companies are in trouble, and this is what our stance has been, yes, there's real fans, they are real listeners, they are real supporters. But one of the reasons why you're seeing so many bots, people are like, oh, it's just Drake and the OVO bots, or it's just the K bots. No, it's the corporations. If Drake and Kendrick are signed to my shit and they get into it, I'm going to take advantage of the moment. I'm going to flood and promote on both ends. I don't care what the narrative is. We got Drake, the violator from Spawn. He collecting children, and Kendrick going to be with Martin Luther, Jesus Christ King. Whatever the fuck works for us to make, or the reverse. So that's what they're going to be doing.
Kendrick beats by Dre. He beats women, and Drake is the savior.
He's the savior. So
there's no nuances. One person's painted as the savior. One person's painted as the villain.
And the switch is very important because the switch creates conflict. So today, Kendrick will be praised. Then tomorrow, he's the devil. Yesterday, Drake was the enemy. Today, we're going to praise his comeback because it's a giant casino and they're price gouging because they can.
It is a giant casino.
That's all it is.
Remember what we mentioned a little bit back where, Jay-Z tried with the casino. Nas did the expansion pack for a casino. Stake with the lawsuit with Stake pertaining to Aiden Ross and Drake, yes, and then the Offset getting shot in the ass at the casino. The casino subculture right now that's gaining a lot of traction in hip hop. I think people should keep an eye on that. And then also, I think a lot of us gotta have a backbone. There's something off with all these industry people coming to the independent scene at a time where major corporations can be meeting death. And I think y'all have a lot of Trojan horses in the culture right now that are bringing the very same people who have been destroying hip-hop into a space where we can all thrive. And I do think the audience need to be wise.
They should sin. Some of them will and some of them won't. Actually, a lot of them won't. A lot of them won't make it, y'all. Okay, and again, think about this. Pershing Square founder Bill Ackman resigns from UMG's board. This was last year, 5/14 in 2025. It was announced through Billboard. So moves were already being made, and I know some people online, they're like, hey, no way. Folks, he resigned last year. He's making his announcement basically around the same time, about a month off. You will be seeing an acquisition somewhere, and even though they put out that statement when they said we put out a statement, we stand behind Lucy and Gary. The conversations are already happening. So this is one of the reasons why doing what you saw, you're seeing so many influxes of these industry people. They're on YouTube. They're on YouTube now. They're competing with people that have been making it. Like, I'll give you an example. The reason why Mano kind of got cooked. Mano made a very erroneous statement that I thought was industry interesting. I thought it was interesting from an industry standpoint. So y'all know he was going back and forth with DJ Academics, right? And Academics said, how you going to try to come to my block, this, that, and third. All right, there's something at times, there's things that the awful, scary hamster does, right? But when he makes those points, those are salient points. They're valued points that make sense.
Well, be
right?
careful, because you see there was some industry plants trying to say that we're similar to academics, because they, if you don't say what they want you to say, they go out there lying and trying to besmirch your name.
Yeah, well, they got to figure out they similar to the man that their mama lied and said that was their daddy. All right, that's number one. You don't run anything over here. You can shut your mouth. But here's the thing about it, though. Academics made a point that I said that makes sense, because let's be real. Some of the people that are coming out of the industry, they were running around with everybody, but now, they have podcasts. They be in people's comment section. Sometimes they go back and forth. They throw subliminals at certain people they've been watching and studying, and so they are here. And then Mano responded on his podcast with Fabulous Davies and, of course, Jim Jones, Jimmies. He said that, it's like, I get it. This was the hubris of Mano. He said, I get it. We're famous. Like, you've been working in that space for like 10 years, and then we just show up.
Mano, you're not famous like that, bro.
Mano.
And actually, now that I think about it, the Lobby Boys, I was interested with the freestyles and stuff, but I'm not supporting no industry platform. They're going to sit up there with their crackhead mouths trying to talk about you competed with the independent scene. The same thing with Fat Joe. When Fat Joe was sitting up there talking about what part of the basement, the hip hop is the basement and all that.
You talk about the dirty part.
Yeah, all you punk ass mainstream bums who think you could come in here to the independent scene because your home's having foreclosure in the mainstream is gonna be for a rude awakening. Industry plants can get exposed any fucking time.
Well, here's the thing about it, though. Now, to your point, look, independency historically has always been, as Floyd Money Mayweather said when he has to kiss that wall in Israel, hard work.
You make me laugh every time you say hard work.
Hard work. It's my favorite thing that idiot used to say. Hard work. All right. Terrific boxer, but man, his talking points be all over the place. I'm like, I'm all right, Floyd.
Yeah, we'll be watching his 10 fights.
You damn right. I'm going to watch him try to remake that money again for Israel. I might put some money down to support his ass. All right? That
so
being the case.
In casino betting?
Hey, I'm not getting shot in the ass.
But also on some serious tip, free the people of Gaza, free Palestine, and also the people who have an issue with the people of Gaza. Also in the Jeffrey Epstein files said they had an issue also with black people, from saying hunting black people to saying black people have low intelligence, so on and so forth.
Right, you're right about that. And look, I do find it fascinating. I thought Mano's talking point was very revealing, personally. Academics, what you see is what you get with them. It is what it is. We can move on. I know people, oh my God, and what about them? All right.
Mainstream people was trying to poach academics to be.
If they can flip him, if they could,
ASAP Rocky tried to flip him.
Everybody came over.
Some people who were pro Kendrick and mainstream and part of the industry was trying to flip him.
Absolutely, because
and then already Drake already successfully flipped academics.
Oh man, their bond is in our blood.
Because the environment that Drake's create for...
especially if you a raggedy tourist like academics in Drake's Zoolander environment, who wants to go to the stuffy Rock Nation environment?
Yeah, he doesn't...
You got to look at it that way.
He would have to change himself culturally.
He would have to get a haircut. He would have to dye his beard blonde at the bottom. He had to look like Odell Beckham.
Hard work.
Look, here's the thing about it. Sitting there, we've seen it, and look, we've had people, rappers, well-known rappers, say directly like, well, when they were coming into, starting this podcast wave, because, you saw it with Drink Champs, and then everybody that went to Drink Champs, all the rappers got their own podcast. Some of them I'm interested in, some of them are not. Like when I actually, like Manny Fresh and Juvenile, when they just talk about how they made their albums, I listen to that because it's kind of like behind the scenes shit. But I don't want to watch a rapper react to the same stuff that I can see myself, right? I'm not interested. But what they usually find out, because initially they was like, well, we're the rappers. You know, some of these people are talking about us. We can just talk ourselves and we don't need you. Right.
But y'all still.
So
some of them, not
right.
all of them, to the mainstream people going to the independent world and doing their own thing. I don't care about what you're doing. I don't have no problem. But for y'all talking reckless and you're stealing, or somebody in your camp is stealing, what do you know? And also, I think a lot of independent media have been showing grace to many of y'all because y'all are black. But I think that grace shouldn't continue to be extended if you keep trying to violate people. That's what you do in your little Hollywood space, Hollywood space. You're over here in the independent scene now. Nobody want to see or hear that shit. And then also being a bum, your over competitiveness is why you have no mainstream no more. Why that is being gutted out. Then you try to bring that same flawed energy over here. Like, nah, stop it. A lot of industry rejects trying to upstart a lot of their own, trying to upstart their own stuff based off of independent people. And y'all, many of y'all in the audience have seen it.
Yeah.
Y'all, I mean, don't act like y'all didn't see industry people be stealing and taking from people in the independent scene.
Well, I'm going to put this up here, though. So you asked a very intriguing question. You know, yeah, there is always going to be a danger that. You get what I'm saying? You're always going to have that particular danger. I mean, you know, again, a lot of people say, I love Sinners, didn't learn shit from it. Because that's what Sinners is about. Okay? And respectfully, it does come from a man or two men that really, especially Ryan Coogler, kind of got his start really going in the independent scene to where he is today.
Yeah, so Ryan Coogler is from the independent scene who went to the majors. Yeah,
absolutely. Right now, I'm going to put this on the screen. So we talked about Bill Ackman, right? Legendary music executive Jimmy Iovine became a key investor in the media platform Complex, now part of Complex Network. As you guys know, Network acquired Complex. This happened in 2024. Remember, I was talking to you guys about a lot of things were taking place. Cindy and I, we covered this. We said there's a lot of media movement going on in 2024 because the battle at that time reinvigorated the industry.
And I also want to say this to anybody who's a true independent creator. You got to be comfortable with disagreements. Otherwise, these industry Trojan horses are going to destroy y'all and y'all scene. You shouldn't be getting into no bar fight just because somebody likes Drake. Who cares? If they like Drake's music, who cares? If they like Kendrick music, who cares? Cole music, who cares? And if they don't like all three of their music, who cares? Like, for example, I enjoy talking to anybody and everybody. I don't give a fuck what fucking rapper they like or don't like. But I do see some people in the independent scene falling for a lot of the BS from industry Trojan horses. If you get into a fight with somebody who didn't do anything to you because they have a video breaking down their thoughts on Kendrick, Drake, Cole, or whoever, and you're like having an issue with them on a personal level, instead of y'all just, you know, having a conversation, some jokes and stuff about y'all disagreements, something is wrong with you.
Well, there's another side of that coin, Sin. Some of those people that you see doing these things, scouts have reached out to them. You know,
would you like to have your own show? Do you want to, would you like to interview, such and such?
Yeah. So let me go here. The key aspects of Jimmy Iovine's Complex relationship in 2024. The 2024 investment, Jimmy is an investor in the new Complex Network adventure, which acquired the youth culture media platform Complex for $108 million. Strategic partnership. The deal merges Complex with the live streaming shopping platform Network to create the next generation content in commerce experience aimed at streetwear and music fans. Editorial content. Iovine has featured heavily in Complex's editorial, including a 2017 interview on their Blueprint series discussing his career with Interscope Records and Apple Music. And also with the industry commentary, it says Complex often features Iveen's commentary on music industry trends, such as his opinions on streaming services, where he has noted the platforms are constantly evolving to avoid being obsolete. Now, if you guys know, Iveen recently talked about streaming platforms. From his perspective, they're dead. Well, of course, if I want to kill this competition, I want to move on to something else next. I had to make those statements, which we see in the functionality of a lot of platforms. They're going through, they're having issues right now.
They're doing it on behalf of white people.
So,
and the white execs that back whatever artists that they're associated that's still connected to the majors.
Well, so just to say this, the network acquires Complex to build the next generation content and shopping experience. Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Complex as of late. I have since, I would say, 2023. Especially in 2024, there was a huge facelift. What Sin brings up is an interesting and great point as well about people doing all of this bar fighting. People, a lot of folks are not owning anything in the process. And some of these people are really just promoting these industry artists. Again, if you are a fan of any of the guys or women that are running around in hip hop, that's you. But make no mistake about it, there is a rearrangement in media that is happening right now, especially concerning the independent space. This is why a lot of times you will see, especially in hip hop media, people are trying to trigger fights with people, because let me tell you something. Once you wrapped up with somebody online, some rando online, you are locking in your IP with somebody else.
It's about recruitment or takeout. That's how these stupid industry people think. They're circling, and it's about removal, or you have to ingratiate yourself with them. And that's not real teamwork, and that's not real networking, because, you know, they're there to serve an agenda. And for the audience and other independent media personalities, y'all have been warned.
All right, so there you have it, you guys. You know, we're going to leave it on that note concerning Bill Ackman and his, you know, he's looking to acquire UMG for $64 billion. And then, of course, you know, what I brought up here about Jimmy Iovine and Complex, and maybe a lot of people may not have known about that. But this is why you're seeing for the first time in hip-hop media in the past 2 years, there's this invisible pull on the conversation of hip-hop. It's intentionally not being moved beyond these three people. And Sin and I have been covering a lot of stuff. We've never seen nothing like it. But also on the other side, because Sin and I watch other things, we do see which moves are being made in these background situations concerning corporations in that. So what they'll do is tell you that one of the reasons why you had this narrative out here about it's boring right now, it's all down. It can't be down if behind the scenes people are putting up billions of dollars for the culture that people claim are dead on the microphone.
It's boring right now, not because of what academics said pertaining to Kendrick. It's all industry camps trying to bottle up the conversation.
There you go. This is a bottlenecking of hip hop in general.
The pro Drake people in the industry don't want you to say nothing negative about Drake. The pro Kendrick people in the industry don't want you to say nothing bad about Kendrick. The pro J. Cole people from the industry don't want you to say anything negative about Cole. Can't say nothing about Rock Nation or Jay-Z. Don't say nothing negative about Onika and all that. That's where the bottleneck is coming from. And depending on what platform is trying to be more lenient to or have some association with is where they're trying not to get into that. To me, my only thing is I'm not going to lie on anybody if it's just not true. Like even the culture point that J. Cole made, people were taking it and running with it, saying he was saying things about anti-black culture or black people don't have culture. Major lie. There's a lot of things you can critique people on without lying about what they state. So here's what's happening in the hip-hop conversation right now. there could be something factual going on with Drake, Kendrick Cole, Rock Nation, Jay-Z, Nicki, whatever. And the people with an agenda to try to just protect these people will come in and try to undermine your authority on your platform to try to make you look like the bad person if you have these discussions. And then on the flip side, though, you do have people who do lie on these people, though, too.
It's a part of the game.
Yeah, like even when people was talking about the Chloe thing, they're like, oh, and then Chloe ended up hanging out with Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce, she ain't gonna let that slide.
Even after they criticized her for being at Ye's concert,
but
they didn't criticize the white guy who was helping him with his comeback, Anthony Noto, who owns the stadium and who's heavy into cryptocurrency and has a lot of money and all this other stuff. So it's obviously an agenda. You know, there are a lot of independent creators. Y'all up for a fight right now, but if y'all stay true to yourselves, y'all will win. Do not allow mainstream people to try to persuade you out of it. Look at that fucking article. The catalogs are worth a lot of money, but the white execs and labels don't know what to do. Spotify is falling, and even though Mickey Fax is an industry person, I will, give some type of leeway from my personal opinion. When he said to boycott Spotify, not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to hurt these companies while they're at their weakest right now and don't even know what to do with these profitable catalogs. So if you're an independent creator, let me just wrap it up with this one thing.
Come on, bring it home, Sam.
You always got to ask the question, why are you coming to me now?
Yeah, why are you in my face?
Because you're 1 year or a couple of months or 2 years away from the big money, and your stupid ass is allowing these vultures, even the ones in black faces, to come and swoop down and take your lunch while you're almost there at the finish line. Man, you better let these people tell these people to get the hell out of your face.
Well, it's also karma based on their actions too, because you cannot support an administration that has been slashing thousands of jobs in America. So you support an administration that, again, their job is coming in that, we're performing for the private equity firms. This is the era of the private equity firms. We are with the totalitarianism and capitalism, right? We're for the oligarchs, the technocrats, the plutocracy, right? You as a corporation, hey, I got to do business with them because we need some tax breaks. And we also need some markets deregulated, so we gotta do business with the Don, right? Okay, cool. The Don goes in there with Elon. Elon says, "Hey, man, we're gonna cut through the government. We're gonna get rid of a bunch of government jobs. People, union busters, companies are being broken up. There's companies that are merging together. There's massive layoffs, right? But y'all still behind it, right? I'm not saying it don't happen on the left. It does. It's just big business and it's government. But we know when the right-wing boys, or at least with the red ties, get in office, boy, there's going to be massive layoffs, right? So, of course, consumers are not going to be that motivated to spend monies or part with their dollars. You saw it this last time during Christmas with Black Friday. Black Friday was 4 fucking weeks. Hey, yeah, yo, y'all know we still got a deal, right? Again, that is how it works. And so a lot of times people don't understand. You guys look at a company like, bro, why are they moving like that? I'm going to give you an example. You have consultant firms, right? I'm just going to use this real quick. You have consultant firms that are telling major corporations, you need to get on AI. You need to sign that contract, get that contract with Copilot, fire 12,000 people, bring in Copilot, right? They bring in Copilot. Less than 5% of these companies or these corporations that have had these contracts with these AI firms, less than 5% of them have actually seen any residuals at any point in time. It's not even like they would tell you, like, yo, we had a big turnout in this quarter. No, they're having minimal returns, right? But the consulting firms go to these companies, these CEOs, these board of directors, these shareholders, and they tell them, you need to get in on this particular, you need to get in on OpenAI, get the contract with OpenAI, contract them, right? And then the company does it. They spend billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't get a return, but they fired 30% of their staff because they were told that AI was going to perform more efficiently, right? Folks, what I am saying, these executives don't know anything. They're being told what to do. That's all they're supposed to do. And so what happens is in the process, there's a rule. If I jump on something as a CEO, there's a rule in corporate America. If I jump on something that's popular and it flops, it's not my fault because the product was marketed to everybody and it's something on Sam Altman, it's something on NVIDIA, it's something on whoever the case is, right? So this is why a lot of times this is the business of just guaranteeing contracts. What's going on with UMG right now? Okay, what can we contract at this point? Because the catalogs are moving around, but what else do we have? So now they're saying, let's do a merger or let's just do a buyout. And that is normally what you're going to be seeing. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? UMG will not be the only one. You're seeing a lot of companies right now either fold, break in half, or they're getting completely absorbed by private equity firms.
And there are black faces who are pretending to be independent, who are independent scene, that are trying to get information to bring it back to White Daddy and in these conglomerates. And I'll let you know, we already, as Thought Crimes, have had issues with black mainstream people trying to take our stuff, run to white people. You know, you saw even what took place with David Banner. You saw with Charlemagne over the years, and just so many other people as well. You know, they take things and then they're trying to run to their white bosses and different things like that. So, and this is just me being honest. You have a lot of people who are even trying to take fabrics and layers of things that Prince and I are trying to do. What do y'all do? What do y'all do? What are y'all trying to do? What's y'all plan or whatever? Because they want to steal from us. And some of them have, I mean, y'all see some channels literally who bit off of our whole theories and stuff with no reference, no credit, make whole YouTube channels based off what we say. And some of them are industry plants and bots. So just letting everybody know, you know.
They about as fake as that Biden and Eric Trump cage match. That shit is crazy. Go ahead, Sid.
Right. And you know, y'all also saw, you know, certain people getting sensitive because you know, I said The Fall Off was a good album. And you know, it was this weird energy with certain people. Then they were like trying to create a little bit of a campaign or whatever. But you also see it when people say, you know, some people have gotten it when they said they enjoy a Kendrick album or even you know, people who are excited for Iceman. But a lot, I'm gonna tell you, it definitely is from the industry. A lot of this drama. A lot of it is stemming from the industry and it's spilling out in the independent scene. But we really appreciate y'all. On Friday, B More and I at 6 o'clock will be dropping a podcast on the Patreon, Thought Crimes Patreon, on Vedic astrology, Western astrology, also pertaining to J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth and Trump's chart, and talking about different things on the request of one of the members of the Patreon. We have a lot of exclusive podcasts and things dropping as well over the next couple of days from Prince and I, a lot of different topics. And also we'll try to maintain our energy up here on YouTube, because I know a lot of y'all do miss us and we miss you as well. So we're going to make sure we try to, you know, keep it going, because I try to keep it going for all of y'all. We appreciate y'all, and y'all take care.
Love y'all. Y'all take care. Peace.
I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow.
Oh my God, what's this?
And I sing happy. And I sing happy. And I sing happy. And I sing
We are all the same. We are all the same. More group
Coming through your airwaves. All right, now I'm here to kick the ballistics. Check out Thought Crimes. Are you following me? Coming through your airways. Coming through your airways. You ain't gonna get me with that one.